What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or GameOverJesse as some of y'all may know me, and here with me, as always, is our co-host, Daniel, and a special guest with us again, Holly Wolf, who has her own YouTube channel. How many people know you, Holly?
2.
No, how many people know you?
Oh, how many people know me? I was like, I don't really know. I couldn't answer that. How many?
People.
Yes.
You guys. My YouTube channels, Holly Wolf TV, or all my socials are Holly T Wolf. So that's how you can get to know me.
All right.
Oh, that's good.
Alright, so we are here to discuss the top 5 confirmed Zelda theories. These are not fan theories, although they started out as just fan theories that could easily be disproven or may not happen, such as everyone's debate on where Breath of the Wild takes place on the timeline. No, we are going to be discussing Zelda theories that Nintendo, whether it be Miyamoto or Aonuma, whoever else working at Nintendo, has confirmed themselves are true, such as our first Zelda theory, the hero shade in Twilight Princess being Link from Ocarina of Time. And to add on to this, not only is it the same Link from Ocarina of Time, the hero of time, but that Link is also the great, however many greats, grandfather of Link from Twilight Princess. This is something that may be hinted at in the game, but isn't necessarily confirmed. But thanks to Hyrule Historia, interviews with Miyamoto and Aonuma, especially during the re-release of Twilight Princess HD on the Wii U, have confirmed themselves that this is true. So what are your guys' thoughts on this theory? When you were playing through the game, did you think there was that connection to Link from Ocarina of Time? Some people thought it was there, but then some people thought, well, Link from Ocarina of Time couldn't turn into a wolf, so that doesn't make any sense. Why would he be the hero shade? But then...
Yeah, but if you're a ghost, I mean, he's dead. So you can do anything when you're dead, man.
Yeah,
if you believe.
I think some other arguments against it was that... this is kind of funny because people also use this in support of the Link is dead theory. But they would say, well, Link dies, like the hero of time dies in Majora's Mask. So the skeleton in Twilight Princess is an adult skeleton. There's no way the child skeleton could turn into an adult skeleton. So people would use that as a way to say, no, that's not Link from Ocarina of Time. Other people would say that the size of the hero shade, the skeleton itself, is much larger than Link's typical size. So,
but he's dead.
Yeah. So, like, there's been a lot of people that have put out their own ideas and thoughts on how to disprove this theory, but Nintendo themselves has come out and said, yes, that is Link from Ocarina of Time. Yes, the hero of Twilight, or hero of Light, however you want to call him, is in fact the descendant of the hero of time. So it's kind of 2 in 1 there. So what are your guys' thoughts on this when you were playing through the game? Did you think that was something that popped up, or did you think it was something interesting, cool? Did you find it out long after you played the game? So give us your story on this. Starting with you, Holly.
I can't even remember if I thought of that while playing Twilight Princess
12
through.
years ago now.
Yeah, I'm like, did I know? Did I not? I don't think I knew. I can't remember, honestly, but I do remember, like, when I started, like, watching Zelda theory videos about it and stuff, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, that's really, really awesome. So I'm about that. I think it's a great move on their part. And it also brings, like, a lot of, like, sorrow to Link, right? It's just kind of sad. You're like, oh, my heart.
He dies.
Oh, hero shade.
He's dead.
Yeah, so it's some deep stuff right there, so I liked it.
There is speculation that you find his grave close to Hyrule Castle. So, but what about you, Daniel? What are your thoughts on this theory? Was it something that you picked up on while playing through the game, or was it something you found out later on?
If my memory serves me, because again, this was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was just a wee teenager. I'm pretty sure that I suspected it was something like that, or a previous link. But I didn't know for sure, obviously, till it was confirmed. And then I was like, oh. But usually my thought is like, hey, this is a cool idea. This is a really cool theory. It's probably not true because Nintendo doesn't do that. So, but I don't know, like, this was around the time when I was really just starting to get into Zelda theories as well. So, like, this was about when I first started thinking about, like, things like the timeline being important in any way, or the split timeline existing, because I was one of those crazy theorists on, like, forums and stuff. And I had a wall covered in post-it notes, you know, and stuff like that. So it was just like you know, that there's that meme where the guy is like from like It's Always Sunny, and he's like pointing at there's all the red lines and stuff. That was me about the Zelda timeline. But yeah, so I think I just suspected that was the case, but I didn't know for sure, and I just was like, it's a cool idea, but Nintendo won't go for it because they're Nintendo.
Yeah.
They don't know how cool of an idea they have until it's gone. So, but then it was true. So that makes me happy. It does add some more depth to Hero of Time Link, because you know he's one of the few Links where we get multiple games with him, and he's like culturally one of the most relevant Links. Like you talked to someone about Zelda, and that's at least maybe not now, but at the time, especially. Ocarina of Time Link was the one that they would think of, right? So, I like the idea of adding depth to his character. How he often in other games he is the hero that people talk about in game lore as well. So yeah, like in Wind Waker especially, they really talk about the Hero of Time a lot. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. I'm gonna have myself another lozenge for my dying.
My thought, I don't think I played through the game, especially the first time, thinking it was the Hero of Time. I think that was something that I picked up on like a separate playthrough, like digging into the story and looking online and stuff. But after I seen it, I thought it was interesting, but I didn't know if it was like, oh, that's something that's interesting. So as you mentioned, Nintendo's not going to do it because often there are really cool fan theories that everything points to them being right, but you know, if Nintendo doesn't confirm it, or something like Hyrule History or whatever doesn't confirm it, then it's hard to actually say whether or not it is. But Nintendo not only came out and said this was the case, but Hyrule Historia also says this is true. So if you have, you know, the people that made the game saying yes, then yeah. So our second this is kind of an amalgamation, I guess, is that the right word, of a bunch of different ones, because it's essentially the dream worlds or parallel worlds from Zelda games. Not all of them, but some of them have been confirmed by Nintendo to be real physical locations. A big one is Termina during the release of Majora's Mask 3D. Obviously, everyone thought Termina is just like Dream World, doesn't really exist, just parallel dimension, Link falls asleep, does whatever.
Purgatory, because he's dead, right?
Yes, that's the theory. So, during Majora's Mask 3D, despite what Hyrule Historia says, Aonuma, the person who created the game, says that yes, it is a physical place located next to Hyrule. But we've explained that in a few videos before. What brought this to the list was so Lorulian Historian, who is known for working with different Zelda YouTube people like Zeltic, HNK, Dr. Wily, McIntyre, a bunch of people.
He's known for being an awesome guy, by the way.
Yes, he's helped on several scripts for our channel as well. And then we also have the one who brought this up. And I think even Fwes, Fwes, is the initials on the old Discord. So they were all conversating, and we were trying to come up with a theory that is confirmed to be true that people thought, and this was basically what we ended up with, because in Phantom Hourglass, much like Link's Awakening, at the end of the game, Link wakes up, poof, it was all a dream. Daniel is frozen again, so now you're back. There you are. Okay, so Link wakes up at the end of the game or whatever, Tetra's there, is like, hey, what's going on? And the game leads you to believe that the world was fake, essentially, like it was created or whatever, and it wasn't really real. But in Spirit Tracks, you have the great-great-whatever grandson, or maybe it's just the grandson of Linebeck, who is the character from Phantom Hourglass. And it's like, if that world didn't exist, then how does a character from that world have a grandson alive? No, I think he is actually in. Let me look that up really quick. So he either has a grandson in Spirit Tracks, or he himself is in Spirit Tracks.
No, it is his grandson. So it's like Linebeck the Third.
Yes.
And Linebeck, OG Linebeck, his grave is there in New Hyrule as well.
Yeah.
And at the end of Phantom Hourglass, after the reveal that it's like, oh, was this a dream? What happened? We were gone for 10 minutes, even though it was 36 hours of playtime.
Yeah.
And then you actually see Linebeck's ship sailing off as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, shades of Link's Awakening all over again.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Another thing that goes with this is in Link's Awakening. As you mentioned, that's a callback to Link's Awakening. At the end of that game, if you get the true ending, what's it, Meryl?
True.
What's her name?
Marin?
Marin, yes,
Marin?
Marin. I said Meryl. Who's Meryl?
Meryl is a Pokemon.
So Marin, at the end of Link's Awakening, during the game, she mentions that she wants to like be free or whatever, and then at the end of the game, you see her flying away. Like there's a seagull that like that's flying away, and then it takes her shape or something. So yeah, you basically see her character like flying away, and it's the same thing with like, how is Linebeck sailing away? How's his grandson exist if this was all a dream? The same thing happens. Cohelant Island in Link's Awakening disappears. But the conclusion that I came to is these are all deities and gods, goddesses that are creating these worlds. So in Link's Awakening, it was the ocean. What was it? Not the ocean.
The Windfish.
Yeah, the Windfish. The Ocean King was.
Ocean King was Phantom Hourglass.
Yeah. Okay. So
some people think they're one and the same, but they're not.
So my conclusion to this is in all these deities. To Hyrule, Cohelant Island may seem like a parallel world, it's in another dimension, but it was created by the Windfish. The Windfish is a god or deity in the same way that Hylia is a god, or, Hylia is the goddess that she created the three goddesses. Like Nehru, Din, Furor.
Yeah.
Those three goddesses created Hyrule. So they are deities, not the main deity, like they're not up to where Hylia is, they're like underneath Hylia. So they're the three golden goddesses. They created the Triforce, they created Hyrule, they created all life on Hyrule. This is what Ocarina of Time tells us when the Deku Tree is explaining it to Link. So if they're deities, they can create their own world, their own people, didn't exist before. If they're able to create their own world, then if another deity creates his own world, why does that one have to be fake and not Hyrule? It's the same thing. Like the Windfish created Cohelant Island in the same way the goddesses created Hyrule. So where Like the windfish wakes up at the end of the game and then it disappears. Maybe it doesn't disappear. Maybe it's just when the windfish is asleep, that's when the two parallel worlds like connect with each other.
Oh.
So, and I was actually playing Breath of the Wild earlier, and you see the dragons. Like they pop up for like an hour.
Yeah,
and I guess
and,
like in game time,
through,
it's
like,
an
a
hour.
vortex.
Yeah. So it's in my head. I was thinking, what if they're doing the same thing? Because they're all looked at as deities as well. So it's like whenever they appear and disappear, maybe they appear to like do whatever it is they're doing in Hyrule, but then when they disappear, they're going back to their parallel world or their own dimension. So all of these different parallel worlds or whatever, like Nintendo themselves confirmed Termina was real. I didn't look too much into Labrena and Holodrum from the Oracle games, but all of the other places, like the games themselves, kind of confirm them to be true. Because again, we go back to, how does Linebeck have a grandson? How did he get a wife, start a family if he was not real? So that 10 minutes that Link was asleep, yeah. So, confirmed. And then well, first off, before we get to our last, do you guys have any thoughts on this? The Parallel Worlds, Termina?
You know,
Wayland
Vortexy Gaming had a really awesome video about that back in the day. I just want to put that out there. Y'all should go watch it.
Alright.
Back when Vortexy Gaming was not missing.
Yeah.
No.
She vanished, so...
Yeah. But I do want to say, everyone who is fans of Vortex, because there was the tribute video or whatever that went up for her.
Yeah.
She's been gone for about a year or two. So Axel the Beast, who we had on the channel not too long ago, used to be the video host for Zelda Dungeon. He disappeared, like soon after Skyward Sword came out. He disappeared for 5 years. People thought he was dead. He didn't tell anyone what happened to him. He just got tired of the internet, I guess. So he disappeared. No one heard a thing from him. 5 years later, he shows back up. He's fine. Vortexy possibly doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So. Me on Nintendo Prime, I've been just missing from that website that I'm supposed to be a staff member of.
Oh no.
The Koroks in Wind Waker are an evolution of the Kokiri from Ocarina of Time.
Does this one count? Did it even have time to become like a theory? Because I think it pretty much says outright in Wind Waker, like pretty much like he says almost right away, the Deku Tree is like, yeah, once these kids were real kids, you know, something like that.
Well, I was looking at it, and I was looking up the like different theories and stuff that have been confirmed, and this was one of them. And there were people that were saying, no, this isn't the case, and then like other people had to fact check them and be like, no, like Nintendo says like this is how it like the same way the Zora evolve into the Rito. Like the Kokiri change into the Koroks. So this was something that, like, playing through Wind Waker, I assumed it was true. As you mentioned, like, the game pretty much tells you that's what happens. The same as, like, the Rito need to get the dragon skill in order to have their wings to fly and stuff. Yep. So, like, there could have been another one on this, but you would be surprised to find that there aren't too many theories that Nintendo has confirmed to be true. Nintendo never really talks about them, or I guess when people get the chance to sit down and talk with Nintendo, they're not really interested in talking about theories. They're more interested in finding out about the next game or DLC, stuff like that. So, but if Daniel and I had a sit down with Miyamoto, I'm sure there would be a lot of theory discussion to do. Listen,
and a lot of adoption discussions.
Like, order a pizza because neither of us are leaving until you tell me where Breath of the Wild takes place.
Where does it sit at the timeline?
No, I'm gonna make him watch my Dragon Break theory video. Be like, is this true?
No,
He's
you
probably
need to
I don't know.
You need to sit them down in a dark room and shine like a giant light on their face, and just be like, "Tell us the truth.
Yeah.
No,
Where does it go?"
I want them to keep making good games, though. I don't want to terrify them.
Interrogate them.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, like, that would be really cool. I'm pretty sure in Wind Waker, though, back to the Koroks.
Yeah.
The Deku Tree says basically, you know, these are the Koroks. They used to take the form of like humanoid children, but now they don't need to do that anymore. So they're little forest spirits, basically.
Yeah, they're like
And,
weird transforming alien race
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And I think the theory was that they took on the form of the Kokiri as human children, sort of because they were raising Link.
They were born or created as the Koroks, but then like changed to help soothe or transition Link in. And then they became Koroks again, which always made me think, like, if they could change their form from like wood to like flesh people, why couldn't they turn into adults? Like, couldn't
Because
they?
they don't wanna.
I know,
Yeah,
but it's
well, I
like
didn't want to. Who wants to be an adult? Jesse, listen here.
I think like during Ocarina of Time, none of that was really thought of yet. So
Oh, probably not.
like they probably had no idea of Koroks until they were like, hey, if the Zora change into, like, if a fish can turn into a bird, why can't these kids turn into?
All logic out the window.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
go.
like, hey,
Who thought of that too? Who was at like a meeting? They're like designing Wind Waker, and they're like, "Remember those fish people? What if the fish turned into birds?" And they're like, "What the hell?"
Yes,
But not
I
only-
like it.
not only are they birds with
You're
giant
promoted.
wings, not only are they birds
Yeah.
with giant wings, but they're birds that can't fly until they get the
Until they get-
skill from the dragon that sits on top of their volcano.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
And
if they're
the volcano,
birds,
so the Gorons are, who knows? They're
Yeah.
they're sailing now.
and then the birds, it's like, if they're birds, they can fly anywhere. Why do they choose to live on an active volcano as opposed to any of the other pleasant island in the game?
They need that dragon,
It's like
and that's where he lives.
They went there, they ran off the Gorons. They drove them off. It's all fine. Fish turns to birds.
Children turn to little tree sprouts.
Yeah. And then there's the theory
they're
that they also
also,
turn
like-
to the monkeys in Twilight Princess.
I hate that theory.
no,
I despise that theory. So the thing with the Koroks,
No.
as I think it's mentioned in several, I think in Wind Waker and also in Breath of the Wild. Maybe not as directly in Breath of the Wild, but I think you can't, like, adults can't see the Koroks. I think that was part of it. So when Breath of the Wild Link finds the Koroks, the first one that he finds, they're surprised that he can see them.
Oh, yeah.
Same with when you first meet Hestu, Mr. Dancing Baraka's Korok. He's also surprised
gives
that
you the
you can
golden
actually
poop.
see him.
Yeah, you
Gives
can
the
see
golden
me.
poop. Did you know if you take off all your clothes and you talk to him, he will tell you that
does
he's
the
happy
naked
that
dance.
that he's naked and you're naked and that you're naked together, and then he dances.
And then he dances. That's
What a great game!
Yeah.
So my thought is in Twilight Princess, you probably just don't come across them, or they're
So-
hiding from you, or you can't see them in that game.
You're saying that they do in fact turn into monkeys.
No,
Oh,
no.
Is I heard you specifically say in Twilight Princess you don't find them because they are in fact the monkeys. That's why there are no monkeys in Ocarina of Time, because
But there are
the
monkeys.
Koroks have to turn into the monkeys, and that's why there are also monkeys in Majora's Mask to help the witch. I don't think people are going to believe you on this, Daniel. This is confirmed theories, is what we're discussing.
yeah. Let's not talk about the monkeys.
Number 3, the split timeline.
Woo! That timeline theory is my jam.
So, long before Hyrule Historia came out and double confirmed the split timeline.
Yeah.
Because there was 2 splits.
I didn't see that part coming.
Yeah, 3 splits, I guess.
Yeah.
No,
So
because
my thought was
if
always
there's
that
one
the,
split, that is 2 things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's 2 splits, not 3 splits. Yeah.
2 splits, 3 timelines.
So people always thought time travel in Ocarina of Time, as we learn from a small movie some of you may have heard of called Back to the Future, time travel causes issues where things change, and people assumed Zelda sending Link back in time at the end of Ocarina of Time and all that back and forth time travel, terrorizing Guru, the music box man, teaches you the Song of Storms.
Yeah.
But then you teach him the Song of Storms.
Yes, yeah. So
And then he teaches you, and then he gets angry that you played it when he just taught it to you.
it's like, why are you getting mad?
Yeah.
You literally taught me this song.
Stop using that.
You're mad because it won't stop raining and your windmill won't stop spinning. but
You've been standing in here playing this song for 7 years straight.
yeah, it's like, just stop playing the song. Your windmill will stop spinning. That's all you have to do.
The dude is standing there like cranking this thing. He must have like that one arm is like super buff because he's just standing there cranking the music box.
It's like the episode of Family Guy where, yeah, never mind.
Anyway,
It's a bit of an adult joke. So he Quagmire discovers the internet, and he's walking out to his mailbox after a week or 2 of no one seeing him. So he walks outside and he has like a messed up look on his face, and everyone's like, "Hey, we haven't seen you in a week. What have you been doing?" And he just points at the mailbox, but his arm's like really buff, and he's like, "I'm just checking the mail." So yeah, like I imagine the same thing for Guru because he's constantly doing it. But in Majora's Mask, he's not mad or anything.
No.
no, because it's a different guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Parallels.
No, they're all dead, Daniel.
They're all dead.
Oh no! Stop it!
They're all potatoes.
Yes.
So,
going back to the
painful.
theory, yes, the timeline split. A lot of people assumed this was the case because the timeline was always sort of a jumbled mess. It made sense with Zelda 1, Zelda 2, A Link to the Past. Okay,
Sure.
that's the prequel. Ocarina
Prequel.
of Time comes.
Prequel to the prequel.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
you get Wind
And
Waker.
then Majora's Mask,
Yeah,
sequel to the prequel of the prequel.
Yeah. But eventually you get Wind Waker, and that tells a story following Ocarina of Time. But then you get Twilight Princess, that tells a story following Ocarina of Time, and it's like, wait, both of these claim to take place like a few hundred years or whatever after, but there's no flood mentioned in Twilight Princess, there's no Twilight Realm mentioned in Wind Waker. What's going on here? So people think it's a split. The time travel, it messed up Hylia, and she's like, okay, if you're going to do this, then here's the split
Both ways,
timeline.
sure.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was a fan theory, like near Skyward Sword, so 30 years after the first Zelda game, Hyrule Historia comes out, and there are 3 timelines, not 2.
Yep.
And
Didn't see that one coming.
yeah, so you get A Link to the Past being after a split, Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess being after a split, and then Wind Waker being after another split. So
Yep.
confirmed by Nintendo. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Yeah.
Do you agree with the double split, or do you just think the whole thing's a mess?
No,
Daniel froze on us.
Oh no! The timeline shattered his brain. Oh. Well.
You know?
Oh, there you
he's
go.
back.
There you go.
Oh,
You froze
Yay.
for a
I'm back.
moment.
I could hear you the whole time. I can't believe you called me a dumb potato.
Holly, why would you do
Both
that?
of you.
I did
My
nothing
friends.
of the sort.
This is worse than the time someone called me a butt.
Oh no, there he's back. He's back, everybody. Don't worry. and he's gone.
Oh,
So
okay,
Holly,
cool.
while he's glitching out, your thoughts on the split timeline? Oh my gosh!
Oh no! Oh no, Scott!
Oh.
Hello.
All right, Daniel. While you're here, do you want to give us your thoughts on the timeline while you can?
Okay. So there's a couple. It's funny you mentioned Back to the Future because I was going to bring that up as well. In Back to the Future, the way Dr. Brown explains the time travel and the future changing, he explains it as a split timeline, right? In which you make a decision, you make a change, and the timeline branches, it splits, right?
Yeah.
However, by
Did
the
you
rules of
watch
time
the
travel,
3GI video on that? My friend Grant, he
No.
played Link in a parody of Back to the Future and Zelda.
yes,
Okay.
yes, that's a hilarious video.
Okay. Because it's what you're saying, but
Oh
with
yes,
Zelda.
I've seen that with Zelda. Okay, yeah.
Okay. So finish what you were saying, Daniel.
In Back to the Future, the time travel that actually occurs is not split timeline theory. It's what's called replacement timeline theory. And that is that if you change something in the past, it replaces the timeline in the future, then changes it rather than splitting and branching, right?
Mhm.
Which is
Yeah.
why like the Marty's photo changes and stuff like that, right? Because if it was split timeline, his photo wouldn't change, or he wouldn't cease to exist, because he still would in another timeline have been born, right? So I always thought that flaw was a little funny, but Doc Brown maybe doesn't understand fully what's going on. So by that same logic, there were two camps of timeline theorists that I followed pretty closely back in the late 2010s. The splitists and the linearists, as we'll call them. Terrible naming conventions, by the way, guys. So the linearists thought that this was going to be replacement timeline theory. So at the end of Ocarina of Time, Zelda sends Link back. It changes the timeline rather than altering it. And they had all kinds of excuses for Wind Waker happening, for example. Like, there were some really crazy ones where it was all in a row. You got your Minish Cap at the beginning, and then, Four Swords, Minish Cap. No, not in that order. Minish Cap, Four Swords, Ocarina of Time, right? Majora's Mask, a bunch of the old games, and Twilight Princess, and then Wind Waker at the very end. Or you'd see one where Wind Waker was kind of in the middle, and then Zelda 1 and 2 were after Wind Waker, after the flood had receded, which doesn't happen, by the way, because it floods more at the end of the game. So my camp, I was always in the splitists, but I still liked to know what was going on with the linearists, because like they did make good theories still. Good, fun theories. I was not an angry theorist. I was very much a fun person. The splitists, the camp was that basically at the end of Ocarina of Time.
I'm sorry. I keep thinking at the end of with Wind Waker, it's like the world floods. What do? More water.
More water.
Hyrule's flooded.
More water.
Hyrule's flooded. Everyone is living on like little tiny islands. How can we solve this? More water.
It floods more, like it's happening when you're fighting Ganondorf. There's just more water coming down. Anyways, the split is the camp was that what after the adult ending, there's Wind Waker, and I think Phantom Hourglass at the time, but not Spirit Tracks. I don't remember if Spirit Tracks had come out yet. And then in the child ending, you had Twilight Princess, Majora's Mask before that. And all the original games came after Twilight Princess. So Link to the Past, Zelda 1 and 2, Oracle games. Again, not in that order. So that was mostly correct. But frankly, when Hyrule Historia came out, I hate to sound like Holly talking about Wind Waker. I was mad. I was like actually upset. Because I was like, there's no way Link losing is a canon ending. That actually upset me, because I was like, no, what you get when you lose is a game over screen and you try again. Link is supposed to be like the hero who wins, saves the day, whatever, right? So I was like emotionally hurt because I grew up playing this game, right? And then I was like, oh, what? They betrayed me. You lied. So that's my story. I was an angry child. I was not a child. I was an adult. I had my own place. This is the 3D. It's another damn 3DS XL occurrence. yeah, so all my wall of Post-it notes was still up at that time, where I had all the games written on Post-it notes and like arranging them in different order. I was a sad man. This is before I was like, married and stuff. So
Nice.
I think I'm done.
So Holly,
please stop me before I embarrass myself more.
How was your thoughts on the split in the timeline? Is it something that you thought about before? Did you never really look into how the games fit? You just played them as they were?
Yeah, I think I kind of just played them as they were. I don't think I thought about it too much. I remember watching like a lot of theory videos. That's kind of like the stuff that I like to binge on YouTube is theory videos and stuff. So like obviously a good chunk of that, Zelda, several years ago, whatever, was like timeline placement and stuff like that. And those videos were always like so nice and lengthy. You could just put them on and like, just hang out, and I would watch them over and over again, just cause like you miss things, whatever. But yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember my initial reaction to when they confirmed everything. I don't know. All I know is I was like just in love with Majora's Mask forever. And when, it's like, okay, he goes into Termina, and I was like, this is amazing. I don't know.
But, like, the weirdest thing is the king, I think when you get the Master Sword in Wind Waker, the king talks about Link, after Ocarina of Time, leaving Hyrule to go to a new land. So he references Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
But in Ocarina of Time, before Wind Waker, Link is sent back through time, back to Hyrule, so he doesn't leave for another land. But at that time, it was Ocarina of Time and then just Wind Waker. But yeah, what were you saying?
There is actually, that is a translation error. Did you know? Apparently in the... I might be wrong about this, but I remember hearing that in the Japanese release of Wind Waker, it actually says that he was sent back in time, that he journeyed through time and was gone then. But then in the Western release, it says that he went to another land. So
this is all Mike Drucker's fault.
Yes. The guy who named Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce.
The only person that I know who's worked. Yeah, the only person that I personally know who has worked on Zelda games. So I just blame him.
See.
Yeah, because he was on. Yeah. I don't think he was on the translation team, but he was on like the writing staff to like write out the conversations and stuff. So I think they would get direct translations, but Japanese to English, as Google Translate will show you, doesn't always make sense. So they get the direct translations, and they're like, "Hey, you have this much freedom to do what you want. You can add in whatever jokes. Just have it make sense and be good." So,
which is dangerous because like Zelda theorists will pick apart every detail of every word in Zelda dialogue. Yeah. So you're playing a dangerous game there, Mike. So
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. But that reminds me, it's like the Japanese to English translation being kind of funky. I watched an interview with Miyamoto once, and during the interview, he says something in Japanese. And then he chuckles to himself, and then there's just a pause, and the interpreter was basically like, yeah, he just made the pun, but the pun doesn't translate into English, but it was basically a bad dad joke.
Oh.
And I'm like, I want to know what it was. He never said what the joke was. I want Miyamoto to be my Japanese dad.
Yeah. Well, instead of getting hate from the Zelda theorists for any translation issues, Mike is now writing for Bill Nye the Science Guy on his Netflix show.
Also pretty cool. But let's not forget that Mike named Groose, and for that he is absolved of all the other crimes. He is forgiven.
He set the Groose loose. No,
Groose is on the loose.
So the videos with him, you guys can go back. Just type in like GameOverJesse, Mike Drucker interview, whatever. You can find the videos with him on it. But our next confirmed theory is... So our final theory that is confirmed to be true is Sheikah is Zelda. Now, Daniel, you discovered this. Sheik, being a member of the Sheikah is Zelda.
I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind.
Sheikah, all of them.
All of them.
Did you guys? Did you guys? Did this blow your mind, guys?
Oh, you know what's funny is that I don't remember a time where I did not know this.
Yeah, that was the thing. Is like the end reveal in my head. I was just like, okay,
yeah,
Ganon must be pretty stupid.
Yeah. I knew that. Like, I remember playing the game before that point, and having not beat it. I remember getting the N64 for the first time and being hyped out of my mind as a little child. But I don't remember that reveal and it having an impact. As far as I can remember, I always knew that, and that's just disappointing because I would love to go back and relive that. That would be so
right. Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Exactly.
Not just
it's like Darth Vader.
Not just the biggest twist in Zelda, but the biggest twist in all of media. Books, movies.
Or what about Metroid is a girl? Did you know that?
What?
Metroid.
Samus.
I know.
No.
I'm just trying to piss people off.
So that was a bit of fun that Daniel and I was having. Our real last theory is Breath of the Wild confirmed a long-standing fan theory of the Sheikah defectors, or what was the term that you called them?
The insurrectionists.
The insurrectionists.
That term specifically comes from Commonwealth realm. But Sheikah defectors, or there's another faction of Sheikahs. That was a long-running theory. That started. I think the speculation started because Shadow Temple in Ocarina of Time is so mysterious, and then people think that
Bongo.
It's fucked up. That's what it is. Sorry.
Bongo in Ocarina of Time was he's hinted at being a Sheikah. He was supposed to live in the Sheikah house or whatever. In the 3DS version, you can actually find the Book of Medora on the table there, and I think it was supposed to belong to the person who was Bongo. He was put in a guillotine, which is why when you fight him, his hands are cut off, his head's cut off. So it's basically his head's just gone.
There, but his head it's just gone.
Yeah. So you have someone supposed to be a Sheikah, member of the Sheikah tribe, who was killed, and then his spirit just haunts the bottom of the well and the Shadow Temple.
Yeah. And it was said that Impa had sealed Bongo in the well originally.
And then Guru
busted out and beat you up. So, yeah.
So, because of that and a few other things, a lot of stuff mentioned in the Shadow Temple, it was a long-standing theory. But then in Breath of the Wild, it confirms that half of the Sheikah split off, and that's how we get the Yiga clan. Because in the same way, they, instead of wanting to protect the royal family, they wanted to either just serve under Ganon for some stupid reason. It's like, he wants...
Yeah.
You see, like in Ocarina of Time, the first time Ganondorf makes an appearance, he raises up the castle, has like a bunch of lava underneath it, completely destroys the castle town.
Awesome guy. He's an architectural visionary.
I see why people wanted to follow his lead. So, so it's either they wanted to get the Triforce for themselves, or they thought, well, Ganon's gonna kill everyone anyways. We might as well.
Better be on his good side.
So, Breath of the Wild essentially confirms that theory. So it's pretty interesting. What are your guys' thoughts on the Yiga? Daniel, You go
Okay,
first.
I'll go first. Sure.
Bananas.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a banana. What? I am a banana.
That's so weird. Like, walking through Hyrule, you come across someone, and then, like, you talk to them.
He wants to sell
Like
you
a
99
casual,
bananas.
yeah, it's like it's like a casual conversation. They're like, "Oh, this land's pretty. There's like a farm over there. There's ocean over there. You can follow this river." Like, they give helpful advice, and then they're like,
I'll kill you.
yeah, they just start talking about bananas, and then they're like, you dared to, like, defy the banana, and then they turn into a Yiga and attack.
Dare you to find the religion that is banana?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Daniel.
Yeah, so the I guess the split in Sheikah factions was like a long running theory that I guess the theory is like has half confirmed because it didn't happen. The split in factions didn't happen when the theory said it would, but it still did happen, so I'll take it as a win. One more win for Zelda theorists. I'm pretty sure everything comes from Zelda theorists first. I'm pretty sure the timeline was someone's Zelda fan theory first, and then Nintendo's like, yeah, okay, let's publish this.
Yeah, this makes enough sense, right?
Yeah.
There's a few indiscrepancies. It's cool. Yeah.
We'll just put it in a disclaimer at the beginning that there's some discrepancies, whatever.
Yes, this is good.
But I love that the Yiga clan became a thing because the Sheikah, there's a lot of sort of mystery surrounding them.
The best thing that Nintendo did, they seen Majora's Mask. Everybody complained about Tingle. The very next game, they give us multiple Tingles. The Tingle Brothers.
Yeah.
So it's
like a couple games too, like Minish Cap as well, and Wind Waker, and then they put him in Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah,
apparently the staff love him. The
Twilight
developers love
Princess
Tingle.
had the realistic Tingle, Ropal. No, what was his name?
The guy who runs the Star game.
Yeah, the hookshot rupee game.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
I'm a disgrace to the Zelda community.
I want to say it was... Was it Rupal? I want to say it was Rupal. I don't know. But yes, Daniel, what were you saying?
Someone in the comments, tell us that guy's name.
Yeah.
Check on ZeldaWiki.org. Yeah, I don't know. I was pretty happy when that kind of came. Like, the Sheikah were, like, very mysterious before. Prolo. Sure. Cool, I believe it. So,
yeah, Perlo was his name.
There was very little information about them. We'd see Impa and Impa, and Zelda disguised as a Sheikah, and Impa. So that was pretty much all we had. Oh, and Impaz. Sorry. So it's really cool to sort of see them, like their culture, what they have become, and their downfall, and the like split in factions. I love that we got more of an idea of what actually, like, who these people are, what their deal is, you know? Because all we knew is that they serve the royal family or they serve the goddess. Yeah. And that was it.
Yeah.
It's not very much to go on.
Breath of the Wild, they're essentially the only form of Hylian left.
Yeah.
Like,
so they're doing okay.
Yeah. It's like most of the people you see have the white hair, so.
Still Hateno Village, which has a lot of Hylians.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. They're like half Gerudo. I don't know. Because they're all like really dark tanned. So like.
Oh, that's Lorland Villages.
Oh,
yeah. Get more sun. They just got more sun.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we're looking too far into this.
Well, they're not mixing races. They're just like parts of the world.
Why not mix races?
There's
I know, but yo, listen, they'd be more than just tan.
They'd be really buff.
They'd be buff.
So they're.
I love that. If you try and pass as a Gerudo, there's in Gerudo Town, there's one Gerudo you can talk to, and she asks what you're doing there. You can either lie to her and tell her that you're a Gerudo, or you can be honest and say that, you're a Hylian woman. And if you tell her that you're a Gerudo, she's like, no, she's like offended. She's like, you're too tiny. I cannot see your abs. You are not a Gerudo. I love that.
that explains why Ganondorf is like 7 feet tall.
Yeah, they're all tall, man.
Yeah,
So-
they're like Amazons.
Yeah, so-
Desert Amazons.
Like, if you compare how big Ganondorf was to the Gerudo in Ocarina of Time, like, the Gerudo were almost Link's height, and they were still kind of skinny.
Yeah.
And then Ganondorf was, like, 2 feet taller than everybody.
He's
So,
a
if you
buff
had
boy.
that same comparison in Breath of the Wild,
Is that why they don't give birth to males? Because they like
They're like,
rip your
"No."
vagina open? Because it'd be so huge.
Yeah.
They're
So-
like, no! We've lost
No
too many
more.
women giving birth.
We
No
can't
men
keep
allowed.
doing this.
Terminate the pregnancies right away.
so in Breath of the Wild,
Look, I just there you go. That's why there's no males, because the women can't handle producing the men. So they terminate
Oh my
pregnancies. Done. Theory. Problem solved.
Thanks so much for watching Zelda Fan Theory, everybody. Like this video, right? Smash that like button. So,
I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
it is. Jesse's just so done with it. It's like,
Jesse's
no.
mind is blown.
Someone get these
I had
Canadians
to
off of my
send-
stream.
I had to send a text. Sorry. I was.
Was it a text? Someone saying, "I'm streaming with these 2 idiots
No,
right now."
we're about to get to the mailbag portion, and Miss Click submitted one of the questions. So I was telling her, "Hey, like 5 minutes, we're going to be answering her question. Soon as we get done talking about splitting open the Gerudos."
I'm gonna get into the Zelda theory
Jack
YouTube.
in the
vibe.
chat says "New Zelda Theory" by Holly. No, so what I was saying is that like it would be interesting seeing like comparing how much bigger Ganondorf is to the Gerudo. It would be cool to see like with the Gerudo as big as they are in Breath of the Wild to see a Ganondorf that's by comparison that much bigger. So instead of being 7 feet tall, he'd be like 10 feet tall, which would be
Well,
even more of a problem for the Gerudo.
Why they're still not giving birth to any men. they
The real
my
reason
goodness.
why there's no men.
that's your title for the
Yeah,
video.
Zelda theory,
Bring it
the
there.
real reason.
And then you're gonna have just a picture of a Gerudo and then like Ganondorf's head with a red circle and an arrow, right?
Oh, this would not safe for work like artwork, like a woman Gerudo, just like
Oh no.
legs open and then his head just poking
This is
out.
Ganondorf's head.
The big X.
You guys are horrible. I probably will cut this out to be its own thing.
Boo!
Yeah, you're gonna cut it, and then we're gonna jump to in the video part. They're gonna jump to the next part of
You're
the video,
fine, don't
and
worry.
they're gonna be
I'm
like, "Why is Daniel's face so red all this?"
I'm not wearing like a bra or anything. You'll be fine. You won't be demonetized, okay? Half my
No, I
whole
didn't mean
channel's
cut it. I
demonetized.
mean like cut this for its own video, like its own
Oh,
segments.
own video. Okay, I was like, you're
Okay.
just gonna cut it out.
Okay,
Stay safe.
the Nintendo ninjas are gonna silence us again. Be like, this is inappropriate. It's a secret to everybody.
Yeah,
All right.
that they know the truth.
That's the real truth about the Gerudo.
I'm making that video.
So to
Oh my
end this segment, what is a theory
Segment.
that you would like to find out that is true?
Oh,
Like
I don't know.
what was the theory that you said was your favorite, Holly?
Oh, I don't
the fourth
know.
Triforce, you said?
Oh yeah, the fourth, cause low rule and everything, and the missing piece and everything. Yeah.
And then
The fourth goddess kind of.
Majora's Mask has the goddess of time, so
Yeah.
and my favorite theory, everybody knows it. Dragon Break.
yes.
I want it to be real because
Miyamoto's,
it's my theory.
Miyamoto's gonna come out on stage and be like, "Hey, Daniel,
He's just gonna get out there and shout, "Dragon Break!"
$200, Smash Brothers." And then as he's walking away, he's gonna be, "One more thing, Dragon Break, Daniel."
You're like, I like lose my crap. I'll fall off the stage. They're gonna call an ambulance. I'm gonna wake up in a coma 5 years later. I'm like, Daniel, how was it? I was like, what happened? Did I miss the next Zelda game? They're like, no, don't worry, it got delayed again.
We're gonna have we're gonna do it the same as Link in Breath of the Wild. After you wake up from your coma,
no.
we're gonna have Holly there.
Years.
We're gonna have Holly there in her Zelda cosplay, being like, Daniel, open your eyes.
Open your
eyes.
Open your
Oh
eyes.
no. Will I still have my memories?
No, you'll have to travel across Canada trying to find them.
Damn, Canada's big, man.
You'll have to go to Toronto.
Yeah, it's like the second
as big
biggest
as
country
Russia.
in the world.
You'll have to go to Toronto to find your 10th birthday. Then you'll have to go to Quebec.
No. No.
You'll have to go to Quebec to remember how you got your driver's license.
I haven't even been to Quebec.
Uh-oh.
Oh, all those French separatists. There's the Canadian prejudice coming out. So,
Oh.
actually, although if I travel Canada, I can go across the whole land searching for great poutineries.
Poutine.
Oh yeah, I actually road tripped across from, because I live in Vancouver. For those who haven't heard me talk about it enough times, because I love Vancouver. So we're on the west coast, and I road tripped all the way to the St. Lawrence River, which is pretty close to the east coast. so it's like all the way to basically down by like I went through Toronto, just past Toronto. Only Canadians know what the hell these landmarks are.
Gibbs says on your search for your memories, you can also find the Koroks.
Oh no! If there were 900 in Hyrule, which is about the size of Kyoto, how many are in Canada?
Yeah, like probably 100,000.
Oh, ain't nobody got time for that.
Nope.
You might die from old age once you get half of them.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you manage to get them all, you'll get a golden piece of poop.
Great, just what I always
sword
wanted.
beams will shoot further.
Sweet.
Wow.
So that part's really cool.
Yeah.
So
you need to figure out how to do sword beams first, though. To make them go further, you need to.
I like to think I'm pretty good at that, like coordinating my outfits. So do I get any set bonuses for like, you know, if I upgrade it twice, right, and I wear a matching set, there's a set bonus, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
All right. Question time.
Yay.
Okay. Let's do this.
New intro, you guys.
I mean, Okay, I'm putting in a lozenge.
Are you sick?
I need my lozenges. Just a little bit, yeah. I've been packing lozenges this whole time. I got Ricola.
I'm so tired.
Sponsored by Ricola.
I wish.
I'm not sponsored.
I'm
tired. They want to sponsor me.
Well.
All right, Holly, Daniel, you guys ready?
Yes.
All right.
My apologies.
Oh, don't apologize. Let's see here. What's the time code?
I wasn't really sorry.
125.
I'm gonna start the intro like this. Oh, my one eye is really red.
Alright. So while I'm doing this intro, go through and pick out whatever question you want to do, because we won't be covering all of them, but a few of them. Go through, there's the Patreon questions, which I'll start out with, but then there's YouTube, Discord, and Twitter. So, alright, you guys ready?
Yeah.
You're looking beautiful, Daniel.
So beautiful.
And he froze. He should be good by the time I get done.